Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive, this is Trap or Die.
There we go. Shout out to AJ, who is apparently here. Oh, cool. Let me run this back. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die Podcast. I'm your host, Mual. AJ is on the way. I'm assuming you still getting set up. Unless you're ready, you let me know right now. Dre is on the way. Look, how we start 30 minutes after we usually start, and we ain't got the gang in attendance, man. We supposed to be here on time, bro. But AJ's on the way, Dre's on the way, JP Finlay is on the way. We all know him, Monumental Sports, NBC Sports Washington previously. He knows all things Commanders, and as AJ said earlier today, one of the hardest working individuals in the Commanders media space. Yeah, see, Magic. I gotta check this whole little audio situation I got going on. This new audio situation is a little weird, but we good now. Anyway, let's get the administrative items out of the way while we're waiting on. Let me get AJ in. What's up, Magic? How you feeling, player? Are you going to stick with this Ravens bit like the whole 2024, or are you gonna work your way back to Washington? It's cool if you do both. I'm not judging you. I'm just a little curious. I'm just trying to see how that goes, how that's going to work out for you. Yeah, you let me know how that's going, bro. What's up, AJ? How you feeling, player?
I'm good, man. Just driving, trying to get to a steady location so I could set up. You feel me? But other than that, man, just a beautiful day in the DMV. Can't really complain. After we been feeling like it's Seattle East. So you
Last week
know,
was terrible, bro. I don't remember. I think we saw sun for the first time. What on? I think it was like either Thursday or Sunday or some shit like that. It was crazy.
yeah, I think it was Sunday.
Yeah, man. Where's that park you was at that one time? You was outside, bro. You was chilling like in some random park, bro. It was a beautiful sunny day, man. You got outside your apartment, bro, one day. Just watch. He said he locked in. Okay.
Oh, I was probably on the rooftop at my crib. I don't even know. I
Oh
can't
no,
remember.
it was a park. It was trees around. Like you was like
Oh,
sitting in nature.
oh, okay. It's a park out Tyson's. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I was just cooling, man. Just trying to catch a little vibe. That's
Yeah,
it.
nah, I feel it. I feel
Sometimes
it.
sit with nature. I normally don't do that, but as you get older in life, man, you just start indulging in different things that you used to poke fun at. So
You do the stuff that Wallow be doing and like Charlemagne, they be hugging trees and shit.
nah, bruh. If I
Ain't
hug
nothing
a
wrong with
tree,
hugging tree, bro.
if I hug a tree, I'll probably turn into Will Smith from Hitch. I'm allergic to trees, grass, pollen, ragweed, all that
Are you
stuff.
serious?
So yeah, so the last thing I'm doing is sitting in the grass, grabbing a tree, anything, man. I'd probably break out so crazy.
The fact that you know that it sounds like you got like them little. You did a little allergy test.
Yeah, when I was younger and also as an adult, I haven't done one recently, but like I'm allergic to a lot of like foods and things like that I just mentioned, like tree, ragweed, pollen. Like the
Man,
allergies been kicking my ass, man. Like it's almost like what am I taking Zyrtec for? Like my eyes dry, my nose stuffy. Like it's just it's just a
bruh, the
battle.
stuff nose. I know you go through hell when you sleeping, bruh, with the stuff nose.
Um, I just be sneezing or
Oh,
like
okay, I see. I see.
you know where you feel like you congested and you just keep blowing your nose hoping like everything would just come out,
Yeah.
but it don't. So like crazy enough, one of my homegirls was like, AJ, why don't you use a sinus rinse? Bruh, I went to CVS, bought one. I tried that crap. I thought I was drowning. Like, have you ever used a sinus rinse before? I was like,
Nah, actually, I actually thought you was about to.
I was like, oh my God, I am dying. I'm like, what the hell is the point of this? I'm killing myself. I'm like,
I thought you was about to tell me a success story, bruh.
it worked. It
That shit
worked
was.
though, but
Oh,
it's like the process of it just feels like you drowning, and I don't know how to swim in real life. So I guess it felt like even though I'm standing up in my own damn crib over the bathroom sink, it still felt like I'm about to die. Like it felt like I'm drowning.
hey, that's funny, bruh. That's funny, but what's it called? A sinus rinse.
Yeah, sinus
Okay,
rinse.
sinus rinse from CVS, bro. I'm gonna keep that in mind because I be going. I don't have terrible allergies, bro, but it be sometimes where it do be kind of unbearable. Like on a day or two, or I lied. It's probably like a few days, but I'm gonna keep that in mind. Okay, like I said, we got JP Finlay on the way. Let's get some administrative items. So I'm gonna start putting to action the jersey giveaway, Jaden Daniels jersey giveaway. So be on the lookout for details with that. Bruh, Dakota. Be on the lookout for that. We mentioned a couple times on social media about the Top Golf event where fingers crossed things we're still putting in the pieces. So just be on the lookout for that. Once things become official, we can speak more formal about everything that's going to go down. And then Johnny Newton film session. I'm a little distracted with this damn dog. She almost knocked my audio out. Johnny Newton film session on the YouTube channel. That just came out. What's today? Tuesday. That just came out yesterday. So if you haven't seen that, take a look at that. Get to know Johnny Newton. I'm taking a break from college players. I'm going back to the NFL. I'm looking at some of their free agents. Frankie Louvu up first. We're going to go through some of those new additions before we get back to the Mikey Sandwich stools and the back end of the draft. YouTube, if you're on YouTube, man, you like that, like the content, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate it. Audio side, same thing. If you're new or if you are a returning person and you like everything that's going on, make sure you hit that follow button. Give us a rating and review, man. It takes 2 seconds to do that. So, and it's free. You know, it don't charge you nothing. Shout out to the people giving donations over the past couple of days. And for just various things on the YouTube channel, man. We appreciate that. All right. Boom. Now that that's out of the way. AJ, so I think there's several different ways, several areas we can start. We know that there was several front office acquisitions for Washington over the past couple of days. Also, our main topic, as we see in the title description, can the Commanders replicate the 2023 Houston Texans? I think which do we want to save that conversation for JP, or do we kind of want to touch on that a little bit? We could do both. It's no big deal. But how do you want to manage it?
I think let's wait and include JP in that conversation.
Okay, cool. All right, so we have a couple of people that has been hired for Washington or set to hire. What's today? Today's the 21st. So yesterday, there was an article or a report coming out that the Commanders were set to hire Lions executive Brandon Sosna for a prominent front office position. Washington also made an acquisition for their front office and David Blackburn as their new director of player personnel. Blackburn, according to Inside the League, Neil Stratton, he is a 2021 Bart List honoree. I'm going to give AJ the floor to kind of explain what the hell a Bart is, respectfully, not disrespectfully. But he also spent 17 seasons with the Ravens front office, where he was a director of college scouting in 2023. Like I said, director of player personnel here in Washington. You knew a little bit about David, man. So what can you tell us from your experience with him or understanding?
I mean, I definitely can't tell you nothing about the Bart stuff. I don't know what that is, to be honest with you.
Let me look it up since I brought it up. Go ahead.
But in regards to David, man, he's a solid dude. Been knowing him for a long time. You know, when you're kind of in this industry and there's very few, you know, African Americans within your field of work, you kind of all one another. There's symposiums and stuff like that. So I've been knowing him over the years. Solid dude, been doing great work with the Ravens. I expect him to continue, you know, that same good work with the Commanders. I think, you know, it's all brand new for all parties involved. Like, everyone's going to be getting acclimated with one another. So you hope that they gel. You hope that they build out a great enough staff to where other teams are trying to employ individuals from in this organization. That's the sign of, you know, you building with the right people. So yeah, that's pretty much, you know, how I feel about the David Blackburn hire. The other guy from Detroit, I'm not really familiar with him, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I am. But, you know, when you're getting guys from organizations that have been succeeding and trending in the right direction, you hope that culture, the relationships that they've cultivated over time, the ability to be able to scout and get things done, whether it be with agents, current players on the team, scouting overall. You just hope that everyone gets to gel together. I was expecting big changes to happen after the draft, and that's exactly what took place. As far as the front office, some people thought that it would remain the same, but generally, when a new GM comes in, they don't make those fires of like positions as they're going into the main portion of the offseason. They wait until afterwards. So that's what took place, man. And, you know, they got a guy from the Detroit Lions and they got another guy from Baltimore Ravens, which, you know, Josh Harris has came out and said that's kind of who they want to idolize. So I think they're on the right path of building a great structure of individuals.
Washington also struck a deal with Dwayne Jones. He joined from the Atlanta Falcons, also spending time with the New Orleans Saints and Ravens. This is from Bill and Bangkok Hawks Haven, just covering or a synopsis of some of these front office acquisitions. But he was part of the process that identified Lamar Jackson as the franchise quarterback, while the league held significant reservations about him. So to your point, though, and by the way, while we're covering the front office names and acquisitions to that extent, we're gonna talk with JP and be real. Like some of these, and be real doesn't mean I'm talking to you all, understanding that some of these names we shouldn't even be concerned with when the season starts. So there may be one or two, and we're going to get the word from JP just to understand exactly the people that we should be keeping in our back pocket as the seasons move along, as the player acquisitions move along, whether it's college or NFL, free agency, obviously, or even trade targets that they identify. We're going to kind of figure out who has significant roles in what. But yeah, to your point, I think it's experience, but also understanding like how things are done from those organizations who has a track record of success. I think the biggest thing here is not that these front office acquisitions is going to translate to winning here. I think the main thing is that Washington is going to understand, or Washington and Josh Harris specifically, in this entire team from a staff standpoint and a front office standpoint, is putting the pieces in place to ensure that they have the best chance of being successful in their eyes. And it's not about like getting people that you're completely familiar with, right? Or that you feel comfortable with. Is working with people who has a track record of success and knows how to win from the specific position or area expertise in which they're coming from. Obviously we dealt with years past where, things were dealt with in comfort versus like actually trying to win a game and not win a game, but sustainable winning on the field and off the field and things like that. Dre, what's going on, player?
First off, let me apologize because I thought we were starting at 8, but that was on me, So excuse the tardiness. I was sitting here doing nothing actually.
You're fired. You're fired.
But I'm here, man. It's better late than never. But no, I'm loving the conversation. I mean, the whole front office hiring. I mean, I tweeted yesterday that I don't know what this means as far as winning goes. Like, we may not know how much we're going to win, but if you notice, this is how serious franchises around the league operate. You hire guys from with good reputations from good organizations. I mean, these are guys who wouldn't have likely come here in the past. I mean, we've seen guys come here and with a decent reputation, so to speak, but they probably wouldn't stay here that long. And that kind of affected how hires went from after that. I mean, Snyder had a reputation. He was hard to work with. So, I mean, you're seeing like hires at every level of the front office now with guys coming in with these good reputations. Like almost every one of these guys that's come in so far, you hear some sort of comment about these guys to say, he may be a future GM. I mean, these are guys that, are coming in at lower levels. I mean, guys, in the past, we didn't have the thing where we were scared that guys were going to get poached from the front office, but now you're going to have that legit possibility, if you're going to develop these guys. If Adam Peters is getting guys that's kind of like him, Adam Peters was that guy that a lot of these guys are coming in are looking like. I mean, Adam Peters was the guy with the reputation. He was under John Lynch at the San Francisco organization. And these guys that they're hired in these positions, they're coming in with like that same kind of Adam Peters reputation. And that's kind of unheard of. I mean, in the past, we've gotten maybe a guy with a good reputation, but we weren't bringing in other guys that are like, oh, man, he may be a future GM one day. So, I mean, it's cool to see that. Again, winning on the field. I mean, that's going to be something we're going to have to, see if that's going to happen for Adam Peters, a company, before we really start praising them and saying that they're going to do this, they're going to do that, but right now it looks like this is what serious organizations do. So, I mean, it's something, it's hopeful for the franchise, man. I mean, I like everything that's going on. It just seems like we're finally operating like professionals. And as a fan, that's all I can ask. Like right now, the only issue we are going to have right now is wins and losses. And that's pretty cool as a fan, because in the past it was, oh man, we got this controversy, man, we got somebody leaking this and we got this, that, and the third. But now it just seems like it's going to be focused on football, and wins and losses is all you're going to be concerned about at this point.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, and I think wins and losses is the biggest thing. Another thing is actually crazy, Dre, because I seen you tweet this and I was like, bruh, I was going to bring this up on the show. I'll tell you what it is in a second. I was like, bro, I was going to bring this up on the show because only thing you ever see is like when it comes to Jaden is like this drummed up controversy like over like irrelevant things, and I'm gonna tie everything up together now. From what I'm referring to is like when it comes to winning and losing, that's all that matters now. You don't have to worry about anything else. The pieces are in place. Adam Peters has done a good job on the surface from our perspective of getting his guys in that he wants to win, that he wants to build around. And now it's about supporting your franchise quarterback, and it's about making sure that he has the tools on the field, resources from a coaching standpoint, and resources from a development standpoint to make sure that he can be as successful as possible. And I'm not, I don't want to dive into the negativity per se. I just want to acknowledge the fact that I have never, or it's been a long time for me since I've rooted for a person, openly rooted for a person as much as I have been feeling I wanted to root for Jaden Daniels. And that dawned on me because of the people who were finding ways to criticize him, right? But secondly, or excuse me, actually, the more important thing is actually acknowledging the people who have been complimentary of what they've been seeing with him during the OTAs and mini camps. Jeremy Fowler, I think, put out a report a day or two ago, and he mentioned that behind closed doors, they are super impressed with Jaden Daniels, right? And I think the fact that people are identifying like the fact that the ball is practice is two practices specifically, but the ball doesn't hit the ground in these practices. I don't hold that part with so much weight, but it's the fact that things are lining up from a preparation standpoint. Things are lining up from a actual performance standpoint. Because what on the plane back from Detroit, he was going through his playbook, bruh, and like just and then going through the checks and things like that, like making checks during these early practices is an indication of somebody who's very aware of what he's seen in the playbook. Like those are reasons why I have felt like I've never felt this, or I haven't felt this way about a quarterback in some time, where you can just openly like really pull for a guy as much as I want to for Jaden. Like I really want this to work out. But I wanted to acknowledge that for you, Dre, because I seen this. I saw what you tweeted, and I was like, bro, I was gonna bring that shit up on the show.
Did any of you guys catch?
Good.
I was gonna ask, did any of you guys read the Monday Morning Quarterback article that Albert Breer wrote? So yeah, so like a part of me, applauds Jaden for taking that initiative, but also part of me is like, damn, Washington could have started sooner in preparing him for these opportunities. So in that article, Albert Breer touched on the three rookie quarterbacks, the top three guys, Drake May, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels. And he was saying with Caleb Williams, starting in early March, instead of really like trying to find out more details about him as an individual, the prospect, they were going through installs of the offense already. Like back in March, they were finding out different things and nuances about what he liked and what he didn't like, and continuously in the Zoom opportunities that they had, installing the offense. Whereas with Washington, they drew the process out. Some people could be like, that's cool, but I feel like they knew from even in the article, they known from jump that Jaden Daniels was the guy. He had to mess it up in order for that not to be the case. And even in the article, they alluded to the fact that the signing of Marcus Mariota did signal that they were going to draft Jaden Daniels. So it's just like, I applaud, the effort, the initiative, but I'm just like, damn, he could have had an even earlier jump start, because you sitting at number 2 you pretty much control the draft just like the Bears. So you already know your guy. You could be putting in the offense even sooner than that. But, that's not the case. You just hope that, he picks up everything. But I expect him to, man. He's a veteran quarterback when you think of it coming out of college. So he's experienced with different coordinators, different systems, went from a more collegiate style offense to a more pro-ready offense with Brian Kelly and a pro-type quarterback coach and philosophy. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, my response to that, AJ, I mean, I don't want to compare us to the Bears. I mean, I get what you're saying. I do get where you're going with that. If you know what you're doing, you can kind of get started early. I mean, the Bears had the number 1 pick, but Washington was in a little bit of a different space. And what the Bears kind of did, I mean, which it's cool, it sounds good and all. I mean, they gave them a head start, but it's not conventional in a sense. Like, I mean, you don't really hear that often with a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of rookie quarterbacks. And I think everybody has a different process. And Washington, this was actually, I mean, the front office wasn't even really installed yet when they, started this process with Adam Peters. I mean, essentially, it was just Adam Peters and a bunch of holdovers in the Commanders' front office. So it's not like these guys have been together like the Bears front office. The Ryan Poles and his staff, they had been together for a while. They had been scouting Caleb Williams. They were probably all unanimous on Caleb Williams when they saw Carolina Panthers not winning a damn game last season. And like, yeah, that's the guy we're going to get. So, they had their minds made up probably a lot longer than Washington had the opportunity to have their minds made up, because Adam Peters obviously didn't get hired until January, and you got 3 months to pretty much prepare for the NFL draft and kind of get everyone on board with who we're taking and who we're going to get as a guy. So I'm not going to knock them too much for not getting that head start that the Bears got, and I don't think that personally, I just don't think it's going to affect Jaden too much, because I do think he's, from everything I've heard, he's one of those guys that kind of picks up on things pretty fast. Like Mual alluded to on the plane back from the draft, he's up there going through the playbook and all. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to be an issue with him kind of picking up things. And even from what we've heard from rookie camp, I mean, a lot of guys are already, and this is kind of one of the reasons why I tweeted what I tweeted. I mean, it's a collection of things, but you're hearing from his teammates here in mini camp and training camp that he's authentic. He's easy to get along with, and he's not, forcing anything. Like, guys are gravitating towards him already. I mean, that's just one of the reasons why I'm kind of excited about this pick. And, granted, I love Jaden Daniels as a prospect for the draft, but I also like the other quarterbacks in the draft, but I didn't get into those arguments in the back and forths the fans were getting into. But now that I'm kind of like soaking it all in, he's here in Washington, I'm taking in all of the content. I'm listening to all the interviews, and he's impressing me. It's not even just about his ability. Like, I love the way he's prepared. I love the way he answers questions. Like, even listening to the Keyshawn Johnson podcast with him on there, Keyshawn and his son, they asked Jaden, are you all going to win a division next year? Jaden's response is, man, look, first off, I got to go out there and put the work in. Like, before I start claiming, the division and all, I got to go out there and put the work in. And he's like, yeah, I'm real confident in my squad, but, first it starts with me. And I love that answer, because he's acknowledging, it's self-aware. And that's something that a lot of young guys don't really have, is that self-awareness that, first off, yeah, I got to put work in. And if I don't do what I need to do, then we're not going to do what we need to do. So, I mean, I just love his process and his thinking. I mean, he even can recite all his teammates off the bat just like that. That just tells you how prepared he is to work with guys. He's ready to get out there with them. And this is on top of the ability that we know he has. So now it's just a matter of him picking up the playbook and how comfortable he's going to get working with Cliff Kingsbury. But, I mean, it's hard not to be excited. I mean, even when you go back to the RG3, 2012. This is the last time I was really excited about a quarterback prospect, for Washington before he played it down. But even when you go back and look at some of the reports about RG3 and training camp, there were things that they were saying that, oh man, it was whispers. Kirk Cousins might look a little bit better than RG3. Obviously, RG3 kind of quieted some of that stuff out when, opening gate against New Orleans that year. But the point is, you're kind of hearing something a little bit different about Jaden. I mean, they're not going out in public like, really like, oh man, he's the guy. But you love hearing, like you said, Mual, with the article you brought up, Jeremy Fowler, behind the scenes, they're raving about this dude. And that kind of gets me excited hearing that, behind the scenes, they really feel like they got a guy, because usually coaches don't like to step out that early and be like, yeah, I think we got to do. Usually they're all, oh, man, he needs to work on some things. I mean, even in New England, Mayo, the head coach up there, when he's asked about Drake May, he's like, oh, man, he got a long way to go. And we haven't heard that about Jaden Daniels. And we, that's not really that surprising, because a lot of people did say that Drake May would take a little bit of time, but it's still really refreshing to hear that after a couple of practices, he's done the rookie thing. He's been working with the vets for a little bit, and you love to hear behind the scenes they really think they got a guy. So that's just all combining to get me really excited about this prospect.
But there is a reality that we do have to face. First off, side note, no, I pray to God. Well, Dre, you in the same field as me. I pray to God your agency doesn't conduct a 9-to-5 training, bro. Like, I got in an hour ago, bro. Got in from work an hour ago, bro. But in the brief time that I was able to have my lunch to myself, and I just listened to the radio, and what's this dude's name? He's on the JP Finlay show. Barstool Nate. Barstool Nate comes on sometimes, and he said, man, I don't like, he said something about like rookie slumps or something like that, right? And he's like, I don't want to see, like, I want to see continued progression, and I don't want to see, like, he was talking about 2023 and how Sam Howell, struggled towards the end of the season, like plateaued and then fell off the cliff essentially. But I think it's a flawed statement. I think that's unavoidable. Let me be clear. I think struggling as a rookie is unavoidable. You're going to struggle in some instances. And I think to this conversation that we're going to have about the Commanders replicating the 2023 Houston Texans, I think it's also important to note, like, I think that it's my preview of my answer. There's a way that it can be replicated, but I also think that from the beginning, like first off, the rookie wall exists later in the season in itself. It's about how you manage it and how bad does it hit you. So when he said that, I disagreed. I'm like, it's going to be more likely for you to hit the rookie wall later in the season versus early on. And I think because when defenses figure out and coordinators figure out, they're going to have more answers against what you do well. So I think for me personally, I think that there is going to be some struggles for Jaden. I don't know what they're going to look like. I don't know what everything's going to look like from a struggle standpoint. But my thing is, like, the goal or the expectation or the hope, not the expectation, that's the wrong word. The hope for Jaden is that it, like, you see it here and there, but it's not something that drastically affects your game or that it affects your confidence. I think that's the most important thing, because if you can overcome these struggles and you can learn and get better, you don't have to worry about what they did that particular week or what they did that particular drive. You're going to have a response for it.
Yeah, and I don't know what his rookie struggles is going to look like, and he may hit a rookie wall at some point. But the key thing you want to see is that he get back up. And, Barstool Nate, to his point, he brings up Sam Howell and how he did hit in his last year. And let's also remember that Sam Howell wasn't a rookie. As much as people like to say that was his rookie year, and it was his first year starting, it was his second year in the NFL. But Sam Howell never recovered. And that would be very damning and very concerning to me if Jaden Daniels had a Sam Howell type of fall. I'm fine, and I'm expecting some struggles. And I think I'm the one who on this podcast of the three, we had a conversation about the playoffs, and I'm like, I'm not really expecting that at this point. Now, if it happens, I wouldn't be surprised, but it's not an expectation because of the rookie quarterback, and you have to give him that grace period. But for the rookie slump, I just don't want to see a Sam Howell type of slump where he never gets back up. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to have a couple of bad games. That's expected. But to not get back up and to fall flat completely, that would be concerning. And I hope that's not what we're looking at when we're talking about a rookie slump.
Joining us
JP?
Right now, it is JP Finlay, Monumental Sports 106.7. Like AJ said, one of the hardest working individuals in the Commanders media space. How you feeling, big dog?
I'm good, man. I'm good. we just found a leak in our air conditioner, so I got to deal with that. And I smashed my head on the piping, which was great. I'm going to have a cocktail here in a minute, but I'm good.
Is the hat to cover the swelling, bro?
I don't think it's swelling.
I thought he had a big ass
cartoon bumps.
Hey, so AJ, I think you about to jump in. Obviously, JP for a second. We're just kind of covering the idea of Jaden Daniels' rookie year, what success looks like, what type of struggles would exist, but also kind of the show title for us is what how possible is it for the Commanders to replicate the 2023 Houston Texans?
Yeah, man. So I was listening to you guys kind of in the background there, and Dre, I thought your point about how started here and then it was like a kind of constant decline. I think Jaden, you'd like to, whether there's ups and downs, like you want to see rebounds when there are downs, right? And that's life as in football. One big difference with Houston, I would say, they had Laramie Tunsil, and that makes a big impact. This team does not have Laramie Tunsil. And I think, is it possible? Sure. But I think Houston was far more exception than rule. I think Washington can have a season where they go 7-10, but it's a success if you get some sort of definitive feel that Jaden's the guy. Like, Jaden being the guy is far more important than going 9-8 in a wild card spot. I think you got to zoom out, look big picture on this. I think, specifically to can they be Houston this year? A lot of that depends on guys that have underperformed, if that was a coaching schematic thing, or if some of these guys that have underperformed just aren't that good. Like if you can maximize what Emmanuel Forbes is, and I thought it was really interesting when Forbes said, pre-draft process, he did a top 30 with Dallas, and he knows Joe Witt and Dan Quinn and really liked those guys. And I think, if you can get Forbes playing better, and remember, we were all pretty excited about Benjamin St-Juste through 2 years. What if I think the DBs last year were lucky they had Kendall Fuller, who was a real leader for those dudes. But the drop from Harris to Wieselmeyer, I think was really significant. And that's a guy that had never been a position coach in the NFL. And if you go look back through his track record, it isn't all that impressive. And that's not to say he doesn't have a role. NFL teams employ so many guys that you need kind of vibes coaches, right? Guys that know when to rally, know when to be funny, know when to bust chops. And it's entirely possible he was really good at that. But then when they let Harris's contract expire and he left, and he was, really think about the defensive coaches on that staff. Harris was the only one where people were even requesting to talk to him. They didn't have, when you're developing talent on a coaching staff, other teams are trying to talk to him, and they just didn't have that. And so I think that's a real question. The Jaden question is of the most paramount importance, right? But there's a lot of other questions. I think Jahan is way closer to the guy we saw his rookie season than the dude we saw last year. But that's a question. We've got to see that. What does Zach Ertz have left? If he's got something left, and the way he's talking about chip on his shoulder, I want to prove I can do something. There's a lot of kind of what ifs that if they break right, yeah. I think schedule wise, dude, they don't travel any further than New York for 2 months. A lot of things are going to be in their favor, but there's certainly some questions.
Yeah, I think when I look at it from the standpoint of what Houston did last year, none of us expected Houston to reach the playoffs and pass to the divisional round. But like you said, JP, I think all of that it kind of predicates on the quarterback play. Yes, Jeremy Tunsil is an all-pro, a beast at left tackle, but if you look at the rest of Houston's roster, it's kind of comparable to what the Washington Commanders have. It's more so how much is this staff going to be able to coach up these guys that is currently on the roster and the veterans that they have brought in, such as Dante Fowler, Bobby Wagner, and so on. Because I just think that the benefit that they have, and you could touch on this as you've been at, I don't even know what they call it these days, Commanders Park, Ortho Health Park, whatever it's called. But you can kind of touch on the difference between the Ron Rivera era coaching staff and this era with their coaching staff. They have a lot of former NFL players and collegiate players coaching. So when you bring up like what's his name, Bittemeyer, who was a DB coach, Bittemeyer, you now have a DB coaching Jason Simmons, but you have a Will Gay that was a cornerback
and
for a long time with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, Tom Donahue. Like, you have a bunch of guys that have been around the game for a long time that can coach up, let's say, a Ben St. Juste, who is typically always in position but doesn't necessarily play the ball the best that you would want him to. You can now possibly coach him up to make some more plays on the ball because he knows the more times you get interceptions, the more you can get paid in this league. So I think that's where I stand with that, and that's why I kind of wanted to bring up the topic because I feel like the rosters feel a bit comparable because Houston didn't know what Nico Collins was going to be. I don't think they really knew what Tank Dell was going to be all the way. But I think C.J. Stroud kind of like vouched for him during the draft process because they threw around for a little bit. But yeah, I think the rosters feel a bit comparable. It just kind of boils down to coaching in my sense, how I feel, especially with the NFC being so much wide open than what the AFC is.
But let me ask y'all this, and this is kind of bothering me with the Houston conversation. And this is one of the reasons why, I mean, I love what Houston did and I love what C.J. Stroud did, but now it kind of feels like that's the bar. And I don't want that to be the bar for this team because that's kind of not fair to Dan Quinn and, Jaden Daniels, anybody, Adam Peters, all of them. This is year one for all of these guys. And I feel like people are looking at Houston and like, man, we can replicate that. Now, it can certainly happen. I just feel like at some point, this is not just here. I see it a lot of places. I see it on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But I'm getting a sense now that fans are kind of thinking that Houston is the bar and we got to kind of get to that. And if we don't get to that Houston bar, then this is kind of a disappointment. Am I wrong, or do y'all feel like that's where this is kind of heading right now?
I think if that's where it's headed, it's incorrect. I'm with you, Dre. I think you're far better off managing expectations. And I think the biggest thing, I think the fans have some say in this, especially, dude, because I'm in the trenches with you guys on Twitter, man. Like, some of this stuff is nuts. And I think the best thing, like, fans can do, and I think we're already going to see the Drake May crowd, like his first pick, people are going to go crazy, whatever. Yeah, and I think that's toxic. But I think the further we can remove ourselves from the quarterback savior mindset, the better. And I think to AJ's point, elevated quarterback play can change everything. Period. Like, we all know it, we've seen it. Sure as hell haven't seen it here, but we've seen it. I mean, you kind of saw it with Robert that year, right? They also built a system perfect for him. But I think not getting into that mindset where it's like, oh, well, Jaden's going to come here and save everything. Because if you think about what Peters has done, the Niners, or even those Broncos teams, man, like we kind of remember it as Peyton's team. But the year they actually won the Super Bowl, that was Von Miller and a monster defense. Peyton got benched that year for Brock freaking Osweiler. Like, he was kind of washed at that point. And I think I'm not expecting a Houston type turnaround. I think we got to remind ourselves this team was 4-13. They didn't have a single Pro Bowler. Like, they have completely overhauled this roster, but it's a lot of Band-Aids. Like, you mentioned Fowler and Wagner earlier. Like, those are 2 dudes on 1-year deals. You know what I mean? Like, they want to build this long-term through the draft. Like, that's why, when they traded out of 40 to get 50 and 53, it was a volume play because they think the roster's so depleted that they need to build everything up. And there's certainly talent, but there's not depth. And I think when you become a real perennial contender is, one, having a stud quarterback, but also having depth at all the other positions. I don't think they have that.
Hey JP, if I could ask you a quick question, because you've been covering the team for such a long time.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah,
Where are you? We're like,
man, I'm in
somewhere I want to be.
yeah.
I'm
over
in
there with his little
Arlington.
tequila sunrise.
I'm in Arlington at like some Ethiopian restaurant that has like an outdoor pavilion space.
It looks
And
awesome.
I just grabbed a drink. There's a bunch of people getting food,
That's
different
awesome.
things. I'm drinking a little bit of reposado.
Cheers, fellas.
Waiting on a hookah. So
Water.
yeah, just kind of kicking back, relaxing, enjoying this weather. Like I was telling Mual earlier, it's been like
AJ.
Seattle East.
Tell the waitress I said hi. She looked a little cute. I saw her in the background.
my friend says hi. He told me to tell you hi.
Not the old Mary.
Yeah, there we go. Hey,
She just
I'm about to
waved
say,
to
let me
you.
put JP solo when she show her face.
But yeah, what I was gonna ask you is, like, you've covered the team, under Shanahan, Rivera, so on. How different does the culture feel for you as just a beat reporter? And even maybe if you talk to some of the players so far, I mean, the games don't count yet, but how does it feel for you, as someone that has to cover this team on a regular basis and been through the same trials and tribulations as the players? Because, like I said earlier on Twitter or X, like, you're the hardest person working in the DMV. I see you on NBC at like 12:10 a.m. And it seems like it's live. It's not pre-recorded after a game and being there all day. So
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean, game days are long days, but that's what we do it for, right? So it feels very different, but it has felt different before. Like when Ron came in after the Bruce J demise, when Shanny came in, when Jay came in after Shanny, like there have been, like when McLuhan was there, it felt different. Like there have been various times where it felt different. But you're actually, like Taylor always used to say, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. Like you're actually seeing it in motion, I would say, especially now that Peters is building out his own front office staff. And for folks that are like alarmed by that, this is the normal time period. Like you do it after the draft. You can't come in early January and then like have to reset your staff and then draft and go into free agency. Like you got to just kind of ride with what's there on some level. But I think you see Peters filling out his staff. I think you see in a lot of ways the money that the Harris group is spending, right? And Josh told us about this in Florida, that in a salary cap league, you got to try to win on the edges. And I think when you see all the health and rehab center that they added, I mean, how many Trent obviously is the biggest example, but like how many guys have we heard after they leave complain about like the medical facilities? Just physically, when you go out there, there's construction all over the place. They are building out, like you guys have been there. Like when you come in through the gate and those like wooden stairs you walk down to the practice fields, up that little hill there towards the building, there's like a huge construction site going on that they're revisioning the physical layout of the building. And the layout of the building, one, it's old, two, it's small, but it was made in the Dan era. They put way more preference on like Dan's office being dope and like Bruce's office being dope and then you had like a small locker room and like, shower area. Like they're changing that. They're building out a player lounge and like all these facility upgrades, kind of what they can do, given the current infrastructure, I guess, which honestly has me a little curious if they're going to be able to have fans out there for camp, but we'll see. It feels incredibly different. You watch Dan Quinn. So I'm a believer that like NFL coaches are one of three things, right? You have like the brilliant schematic strategic guys. And then you have people guys. Like their best skill is like managing the locker room, motivating, all of that. And then sadly, there's a third category where like you're just kind of a yes man to ownership, or you know what I mean? Like we saw that you're a yes man to ownership, or whoever's like the team president or GM, whatever. And like that's the worst category. And that we saw for a while here. And then if you can get a combination of like a people guy and a scheme guy, that's when you get a Hall of Famer. Like that's when you get McVay. That's when you get Gibbs, Andy Reid, those kinds of guys. But I think Quinn is very much a people guy, and you can see it. You can feel that. You can see and feel kind of players responding to him. And then to your earlier point, the staff they've put together. I mean, you've got Quinn's a former head coach. Cliff's a former head coach. Anthony Lynn's a former head coach. This time last year, remember what people were saying about Brian Johnson. He was the next hot name. Like this time last year, Brian Johnson was the cool Johnson, and it wasn't Ben Johnson. Like the season's played out and things have happened. I think Brian Johnson kind of got scapegoated in Philly for a coach that may or may not have control of that room. But like, and you can keep going down the staff. I mean, Ken Norton, I would think he's if he's not a Hall of Famer, he's like a Ring of Famer. He's got the amount of Super Bowl rings and like all of that. To put this staff together, one is a testament to Dan Quinn and Adam Peters and kind of their contacts and network around the league, because these guys all didn't come from one place. They're from everywhere. And a lot of them left. Like Anthony Lynn was with the Niners. They're probably favored to go back to the Super Bowl in the NFC, right? Like he left that to come here. So it's a testament to those guys, their networking ability, kind of their human ability. It's also further evidence of Harris putting his money where his mouth is. Like these dudes are getting paid to come. And that particularly over the last like 4 or 5 years had really started to dwindle. Like last year, somebody can go back and do the math. Like they didn't backfill a lot of positions when guys left. You know what I mean? Like Juan Castillo was tight ends coach, but he was also O-line coach. Wharton like had back surgery, missed most of camp. Like you had one dude kind of running 2 position groups during August, like when you're supposed to be doing the most coaching, like stuff like that. It was Dan was 1 foot out the door. You know, it was all just kind of crazy. So I think there's real evidence of why it's different. I think they're also spending a bunch of money at the stadium, which I think will improve fan experience. Probably lipstick on a pig, but
it'll do for now.
Yeah.
So I want to play this quick game. I'm gonna shoot off a couple players' names and even some coaches. Man, are you going to be more skeptical or optimistic about this individual in 2024? AJ, Jury, if y'all got some names, y'all can go ahead and fire them too. So I'm gonna start with, you mentioned Jahan Dotson earlier. JP, are you more skeptical or are you more optimistic about what he can do 2024?
To me, Dotson is a buy stock all the way. I like him a lot. I had him in like all my fantasy leagues last year. It didn't work out great. I will do that again.
Me too, JP.
Yeah, I did it too.
And I've talked to Jahan a fair amount. Like he and I have a pretty good relationship. And I think the offense last year was just so bad. And then Sam, what's the opposite of progressed? Deprogressed? I don't know. He got worse. And I think the complete lack of like any play action really hurt Jahan. Like there was no separation. And then if you're not going to have separation, I mean, Terry said it, and Terry doesn't complain much. And Terry does it in a very professional way, but he's like, I think it was after that first Giants loss, regress. Thank you, Will Weber. When Terry said, like, if we can't hit play action, then we've got to throw back shoulders or something. And they just didn't do any of it. I just think Cliff's going to run a good offense. And I think Jaden, there's going to be ups and downs. He's a rookie. But I think there's going to be some big plays. I think McCaffrey could play too, which will help them having a real third option. I do kind of think Curtis could have a monster year in Buffalo, like on a sneak fantasy aspect. But Dotson, I'm buying.
Dotson, okay. Let's go. Cliff Kingsbury. That was my number 2, but I think you hinted to it, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Cliff Kingsbury, where you at?
I think I'm buying. I think as an OC, it might be like a perfect role. And he's, dude, if you just look at his quarterback resume, going back to Texas Tech, Baker, Mahomes, Kyler, I don't know how much credit he gets for 1 year working with Caleb, but he didn't hurt him. And I think if you look at Kyler's rookie year, when he won Rookie of the Year, accounted for like 4,100 total yards. I don't know if Cliff's a head coach in my world, like if I'm an owner, but I think he could be a really good OC. And I think Anthony Lynn will help the run game with Cliff too.
Let me fire off one real quick for you, JP. Jamin Davis.
I don't know.
Come on, you either buying or you're selling on it, Jamin Davis. Come on, JP.
That was an immediate I don't know, so he don't know.
I was saying, I think that was the answer.
That's selling. That's selling to me.
He didn't
who cares what I say? Here's what I know.
I care what you say, JP.
Thank you. But let's just look at the facts on it. Since this group has taken over, they didn't pick up his option, signed 3 linebackers, and drafted another one.
Yeah.
The last 2 got the last 2 first rounders that they didn't pick up the option, neither of them finished their 4th season with the team. Doxson got cut out of camp and Chase got traded at the deadline. So like the information available would tell you to sell. That said, I don't think they helped him much trying to make him play Mike early. I don't know how much he helped himself along the way either, but he's got a ton of athletic ability, natural talent. So, and I think
isn't he getting suspended for at least 2 games?
No,
possibly 2?
I don't think resolve that.
I know that the court stuff is done. Like he's done. I'm so bad. I hate like legal terms because I don't know the right terms. But I know that is resolved. To your point, Dre. I don't know that you're going to get suspended, but he was going really fast, dude, in like a not really fast area, and it was the middle of the day. Like if you read through that, it's pretty alarming. Where he was driving, how fast he was driving, and it's one thing if you're on a highway and it's midnight and you have a dope car and you want to open it up. Like I'm not condoning that, but I can understand.
You understand?
This is a regular road in the middle of the day. Like there could be kids, there could be a grandmother crossing the street. Like it's just reckless, certainly.
Especially.
Go ahead, mute yourself, bro.
Of course.
Is that a train?
Of course. No,
someone just
over here showing off their damn motorcycle. But yeah, I apologize for that. But especially when he was a part of something that an individual actually passed away. I think the NFL might step in and give him at least a 1-game suspension. But I was going to name someone else. You've seen a report John Kahn kind of put out there. Emmanuel Forbes. Seems like he's running with the 2s so far in OTAs in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to take too much from that. But they did have what looked like, and you got to figure out how to pronounce this dude's name before September. But Noah the kid they brought in from Dallas, seemed to kind of be running with the ones. But one thing, talk about how it's different, the dual 7-on-7 during OTAs just creates so much more tempo. Like it's pretty remarkable to watch. And, Jaden's throwing to dudes that probably aren't making the roster. Mariota's throwing to Terry. Like it's all kind of jumbled up. So you don't want to read too much into that stuff. I'll watch again tomorrow where those guys are because, I'm also curious where Jamin is because what I saw, what looked like the ones, what was Wagner and Luvu, which I would kind of expect. But if you're in clear passing situations like nickel or those 2 maybe aren't your best 2 passing cover backers, but it's also May. Like we're all so excited and in such a hurry to learn everything, but the staff is just learning these dudes too, So there's a lot of time and a lot of kind of transitions probably still coming.
Last one for me, JP. This person has done an excellent job this offseason of showing a form of leadership that's been here from in a communicative standpoint, but also through his actions and ability to bring people here to Washington. Dan Quinn, where you at?
Buying. when the search was going on, and everybody could try to frame it that like it wasn't Ben Johnson. Okay. But throughout that process, I had coaches I know from around the league texting me, DQ's who you want, DQ's who you want. And these guys didn't have like a lot of times coaches will advocate for a coach because they know that gets them a new job, a new promotion, whatever. But like this wasn't that. These were guys that have established jobs and they just know the person and the type of leader he is. And that mattered to me. Throughout the process, I was not one of these dudes that's like, oh, you can only hire an offensive guy. I think DQ learned a lot from letting Kyle and all those dudes go to San Fran. He could have blocked more of those dudes that left, and he didn't. And I think he's put together a staff. Say it goes well this year with Cliff and Jaden, and Cliff gets a job. Well, Brian Johnson's right there. You know what I mean? Like the dude David Blau, who's now their assistant QB's coach, I've heard from some people in football coaching circles, and then like that dude looks like a future head coach. The tight ends coach, David Rye, is a former quarterback. Like they've put a lot to get. Like you don't want to get out over your skis, and who knows how it will all look. But like the offensive staff now kind of looks like one of those Shanny Gruden staffs where there's like real talented people all over. And I think that's exciting. And I think go back to Gruden. Gruden's a really good offense play caller. Like he's really good at that. And those offenses all ran well. But I think Jay, understandably, working under Bruce and Dan, goodness sakes. But I think Jay was hesitant to hire a DC that could come in and command the room and that could maybe – you think about the hires he made at DC and the guys he stuck with. Not the most impressive candidates, right? And I think Jay did that because he knew if there was somebody else, they could can him and go to that guy. And they eventually did it with Callahan, right? Who Bruce kind of forced in there. And I think so much of the league, and maybe all walks of life, but definitely the league, so much of it is about self-preservation that folks are scared to make mistakes or present somebody that can bring something they don't. And DQ hiring Cliff and that staff showed he's not operating in that manner, right? Like he's just trying to win games and develop talent. And maybe, Peters, I do think it's Peters' operation, and I think that's really important. But yeah, nobody's fumbled yet. Nobody's bungled a challenge or lost 3 in a row. Today, May 12th or whatever, the 21st. I guess I'm kind of dyslexic. I'm buying it.
Any last questions? Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I just wanted to chime in on that, and I love JP's response to that. But I kind of love the environment that's kind of cultivating here. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen going forward, but I think that Dan Quinn gets to do what he to JP's point about Jay Gruden not being able to hire, or him not hiring guys that could possibly overtake him. I think that was insecurities due to what was going on in the front office. I mean, Bruce Allen and them, they had their own thing going on, and they were like, hey, they were pretty much in kind of control of what Jay Gruden was going to do in his coaching staff. Like Bruce Allen was recommending guys, guys he knew in Tampa Bay and whatnot. Whereas Adam Peters comes in and he's like, hey, I'm going to work with you, Dan Quinn, and you can kind of hire who you want to hire. But at the same time, we're going to interview guys. We're going to go through a process, and we're going to do it this way. And that's what kind of makes me like what's going on here. And also one of those things is Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury was kind of on track to be with Las Vegas. And I think I don't know what the official story is out of why he didn't become a Raider or why he didn't end up coaching there, but I kind of feel like he saw a better opportunity here. I mean, Washington has a number 2 pick. Raiders, they're in flux with the quarterback situation. You don't really know if you have a star there. And Cliff Kingsbury is at a situation in his career where I have to prove myself. And if I'm coming in with a quarterback situation that's questionable, I may not be able to do what I want to do. So he comes here, he knows Washington has a good quarterback situation, but also Dan Quinn. Like Dan Quinn, he mentioned in his presser that he liked Cliff Kingsbury from competing against Cliff Kingsbury. He competed against him And that's an offense that's tough to compete against, and I want to bring this guy in. So they kind of swayed them, and you got to kind of wonder if Dan Quinn or how much influence that he had there bringing in Cliff Kingsbury from the Raiders. I mean, he essentially poached him. So, I mean, you just love the situation that Dan Quinn has where he's kind of confident and he can get guys, and guys are gravitating towards Dan Quinn. I mean, as JP mentioned, you got a bunch of former head coaches, and Dan Quinn's not insecure. He's not insecure about bringing these guys in. And I do think the insecurity, is part of, or the lack of insecurity is part of Dan Quinn's personality, but it's also cultivated by what the front office is kind of building here. And the front office isn't building something that's working against coaches' staffs. And I kind of get that sense that when you had that Bruce Allen dynamic, it was always that secret element of, man, this guy might not like me that much. He may, be putting a plant in here to replace me in a sense. And what we're seeing a professional environment. And that's just my opinion. I just think we're kind of cultivating a professional environment here to allow coaches to not be insecure and hire the best of the best.
I think that's well said.
AJ, any last things for JP?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Dre was saying. I think he's not scared of competition or putting smart people around him. In order to succeed, you need these smart guys. That's how you get the coaching trees, the McVays, the Shanahans, and so on. I think for me, it's a conversation I pretty much, any guest that we've had on here lately, I've been asking about is, do you feel like this team at the wide receiver position currently, do they have enough to win at that position? And on top of that, I think I heard that Luke McCaffrey has, I mean, of course, it's the early portions of the offseason, but I've heard he's mostly been lining up on the outside instead of at slot.
Yeah, I saw that, and it bears out, but I just don't know, like, where are they in install that we're worried about where dudes are lining up? You know what I mean? He does seem big to be a slot guy, but I don't know to that point. But the receiver position, what I was saying earlier about like the depth, I don't know. I think there's real questions there about the depth at receiver, corner, O-line, on the edge. Like, there's questions about depth.
JP, are you really worried about the receiver? I think the depth is okay at receiver. I think what you lack is kind of that star power or top end talent at receiver. I mean, obviously, we're still trying to figure out Jahan Dotson. Terry's Terry. But now that you worry about the top end depth, I think they got guys that can be back end guys. I mean, Mitchell Tinsley, he could probably be a 4th, 5th receiver in this league. Jamison Crowder is a veteran. Luke McCaffrey, yeah, short slot guy, but I think
that's the point. That's the gap.
Top end talent. Yeah,
it ain't all you got is Terry right now until anybody else shows something.
Yeah, and Terry had turf toe pretty much last year, so that could flare right back up. Like that's one of those injuries that always comes back to haunt you. Unfortunately,
that once you get some time is usually like I wouldn't expect that to linger into this year, but. Dre, I kind of think you made my point for me. If you're rattling off those names as like, yeah, we're good, I don't know that I agree, dude.
Now, I am a fan of Jahan Dotson, but I understand the situation he's in. He has to prove himself, but I feel like last year was just like he needed a mulligan.
Dude, I'm not – I even like – I think you go – I love Terry, obviously. He's established. I said earlier, like I'm all in on Dotson and thinks he has a big season. I like McCaffrey. I just Ashburn syndrome. Do you know where I coined that phrase? When Commanders fans kept talking about, I'm trying to remember my man's name. He went to
dude that went to the Saints.
Taylor Jacobs.
No, he went to
India. You got plenty of names.
It's a bunch of guys. Taylor
Antoine
Jacobs,
Randall
Harris.
Nah. Listen, he went to New Orleans Saints.
People were freaking out.
Simi Cobbs, I think that's his name.
Yes.
Simi, yes.
And everybody's like, Simi's the next big thing. And it's like, dude, we got to stop convincing ourselves. Like, there are people that pop. And Tinsley is a great story, and you hope it works. But, like, I don't know. Like, the Niners are going to have Debo. Like, when you talk about what these other teams have versus what Washington has, you got to be cognizant of that difference.
I'm with you, 100%. So before what's a name that Commanders fans need to pay attention to with the recent front office hirings? Who's the name?
Dude, the guy Sazna, I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Detroit Lions, right?
He was like Newmark's assistant in Detroit, but before that, he was at USC. And I had a USC guy reach out to me when that news was coming out and said that guy's he's the truth. And I think there's some like visionary aspects with that guy. He was basically the architect at USC that got Lincoln Riley to leave Oklahoma, where nobody leaves, to go to USC. And then he was also the guy that had the foresight to get USC into the Big Ten, which is you're doing the Sam Cassell dance. You're putting it on the line to leave. But if you look at the landscape of college football, SC's way better off in the Big Ten than they would have been in whatever the Pac-3 is or whatever. And so I think for his role sounds kind of interesting. If you just read his role, it sounds a little like team president-y, or at least a team president-y track. I don't know that's the case because he's more involved in the football side, but it seems like he's going to wear a lot of hats. And I think it's an exciting young dude with a really, really high character, at least kind of references.
Hey man, JP, anything and everything you got going on, the floor is yours. Appreciate you for giving us your time. I hope your bet's going through if you got some action tonight. I
actually don't, dude. I had to wake up at 4:30 this morning. I was in New York to catch a flight, so I don't think I'm making the second half of this thing.
I respect it.
I don't have much, man. I'm excited tomorrow to just watch some football and see what they got. They're going to try to. This Johnny Newton thing is a little, to me.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm with it too. I'm with it too. Yeah, that was very.
Look, the Johnny Newton thing is actually interesting. I mean, because he's a luxury piece when you think about it. I mean, you do have starting D tackles, so it's not like you need Johnny Newton to go out there day one.
You're gonna need him eventually.
Stud. You do need him eventually, and that's fine. And I do think he's one of those guys that's probably pick it up right away. He'll be a dog whenever he gets out there. But the good thing about Johnny Newton is that you don't need him right away. And that was one of the things we thought about when we drafted him. We were all surprised when we drafted him because we thought D tackle was one of those stronger position groups on the team. So it was adding a Johnny Newton feels like a luxury at this point. I do hope to see him out there at some point, and hearing that he actually played in college, at Illinois, he won Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year with the same foot injury. It's just on a different foot this time. So right now they're just holding him out, I guess, just to let him recuperate and rest. But he played on this injury. So you do feel like at some point he's going to get back out there.
But Jones fracture on both feet is kind of
it's just weird.
Scary. Yeah, it's scary.
Are y'all off of Johnny Newton at this point? Are we done with Johnny Newton?
We ain't go that far.
No, I'm just asking. I want to know.
This is
but it's just odd. When I walked in the bubble and he's got a boot on, I'm like, huh.
Not only do he got the boot on, he got a whole nother procedure of the same thing that he dealt with that was known.
So the good thing is he shouldn't deal with it again, right? If he gets it fixed this time, we're
well.
Done
Let me say one thing, Drake, because I had, and it's funny because
turf toe lingering.
So I had the Liz Frank fracture, right? And I hear JP and B Mitch talk about it all the time. The Liz Frank and the Jones. Obviously, the Jones is the lesser extent, but bro, the Liz Frank, bro. I played my first flag game this Sunday, bro. I was gone a whole damn year, bro.
I don't think,
and I still feel pain.
Compare though, dude. I think it's important to point out, it's not apples and oranges. You're talking apples and
So my goal when I said that was more so to provide perspective in a foot injury in itself. So I guess I should have clarified. But the fact that a Jones fracture, I don't know exactly everything that he goes through because it's not even in the same place in the foot. I know that much. So I don't know everything that you go through. But all I'm saying from a foot standpoint, he may feel some type of pain even after the recovery is where I was getting at. And I don't know what that will feel like for him until he gets fully comfortable. So for him to have the fracture in both of his foot or feet, however you say it, that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. But JP, we appreciate you,
gonna be
big dog.
Man. He be all right.
I think he will too, dude. I'm not trying to sound alarm bells. I'm just saying, like,
oh, I get you.
It's an odd beginning to the process,
right? Because we didn't know that he had this on his other foot, so I do understand that. But I guess for me, the concern isn't that heavy, just because he's not, in a position like a Jaden Daniels where you're expecting him to come in and be an impact right away. Like, I mean, to me, the draft pick at the time felt like a luxury. Like the Johnny Newton pick felt like a luxury, and it felt like to me that he's a guy that gives you the flexibility with a Jonathan Allen. If you get rid of him, he's coming in as an immediate starter out of the break. I don't even know, when he does get healthy, how much playing time or how much rotation time he gets with the two D tackles ahead of him. I do expect him at some point. Oh yeah, he's going to get rotated, but I do expect him at some point to be the guy.
I think those guys would both rather be playing 65% of snaps instead of 75, 80. Their snap counts have really jumped the last couple of years. I also think the way Dan Quinn runs his defense, like, it was so formulaic with what Ron and Jack were running. I think this will look very different, and guys will be moving around, and you'll see guys rushing from different spots, which I think could really be an asset with a guy like Johnny Newton's kind of explosion.
All right, boom. Let's watch the games. I don't know what the score is, but I can't wait to watch it. It looks like you had where we at. Oh, I can't even see the score. Is it a close game?
Got the whole sport.
First of all, that setup is. That setup is crazy, bro.
JP
that's my type of setup.
That's my. This is. I got 2 little girls and a wife, man. This is my area. This is what I get. It is.
I love it.
I want to say 39-33 Celtics in the second.
Oh, bet. All right, y'all. Hey, let's tap in. JP, man, I appreciate you once again, big dog, for showing some love. Enjoy the rest of the evening, man. Stay safe. And enjoy the practice tomorrow, big dog.
Yeah, let's do it again before the season starts.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
there it goes, man. JP.
I'll hang out at AJ's spot.
Yeah, man. We link up at the
no invite, AJ. No invite, brother.
I hope you smoke hookah, JP, because you about to be around it.
I do not, but we'll find out. All right, later, guys.
All right, man.
We can get him hip to some hookah,
Yeah, hookah and your little tequila sunrise, whatever it is you got going on over there.
Definitely not no tequila.
I want the waitress. That's the waitress of sunrise.
This is reposado and pineapple, man.
Hey, all right. But yeah, just to be clear, because I know what JP was saying, and everybody, I want to make sure that we're cool with, like, Johnny Newton. It is what it is. I think that the fracture is just, I wanted to make sure my perspective at least was understood. Like, that pain aspect, he's still going to feel it even when that foot recovers. I just don't know how much it'll affect him until, like, he's mentally over it. It may not hurt him. It may not affect him as bad, but I just want people to understand the reason why I made that point is that may linger a little bit, just as much as him having one surgery, let alone 2.
I guess what I would say is the benefit is he's familiar with the injury. As it was on the other foot, he already knows the preparation, the process, recovery-wise, that he needs to take. Unfortunately, at his size, he's probably going to overcompensate some other portion of his body, which is why the other Jones fracture happened in the good foot. You just worry about, like, the knees and stuff like that. But I mean, like Dre said, it's a luxury. Whenever he does get out there, he'll be immediate impact, in my opinion, because he won't be pushed as the number 1 guy or the number 2 guy. He can kind of come in and just do his thing. Like, his thing is getting upfield and pass rushing. He's not, like, the greatest run stopper, but if he can get upfield, especially within the scheme where they're going to be aggressive up front, I think he automatically can win. I just think that even if he has, like, an injury bug, he's still not going to be a damn Fedarian Mathis. Like, I mean, I know that's Ball's guy, but Newton and Mathis don't even compare talent and skill-wise.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing he'll just have to think about is just, like, that anchoring part too. Like, that pressure that's going to be on his feet, like, in all aspects of the run and pass game, specifically that run, like, facing on those double teams. Yeah, that's
But if
something
I'm not
he's gonna have to.
mistaken, with a Jones fracture, they're putting in like a screw, so it really can't break again. You feel me? It's just more so getting adjusted to it.
Yeah,
But like
literally,
like I
that's what
said,
I'm
like
referring to.
he already been through it. So it's like it's not like Chase Young. When Chase Young got injured with his ACL, he's never been injured before. So I feel like he's still even trying to understand his body and get in a position of, hey, I even feel comfortable, pushing off this leg. Whereas like Newton played majority of his season and became the defensive player of the year in this conference, even with the injury. So, you just hope with this medical staff they're paying close attention to it. I think we'll be in the know and not in the gray like how we've been in the past with other guys' injuries, such as Chase, Curtis Samuel, and so on. We'll kind of understand where he will fall in the plans. I hope they can get in maybe the last preseason game and get some actual live reps.
Look, and my last thing on this is to your point, AJ. It's a great thing too that it's more of a luxury thing with a Johnny Newton with this type of injury because you don't have to rush him back. And as you said, he may have overcompensated on 1 foot because he went out there and he played it. He won the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year on 1 good foot. And that was because he was overcompensating on 1 foot, and that's probably what happened with the injury. But now at this point, you don't have to rush him back. I honestly, I don't even care if he's ready for training camp. You don't have to rush Johnny Newton back. Let Johnny Newton get 100% back to whoever he is as a player, and then you bring him back, and he comes on. He's ready to play. And as you said, he has a different skill set than a Fedarian Mathis. So when he comes back off his injury, you're not going to see the same type of player as a Fedarian Mathis. You're going to see a player that goes upfield. He's going to be able to get at the passer or whatever he has. But the key is to not have him rush to get him back healthy because you want to get him at that ability where he's confident in being the player that he needs to be versus being something that he's not. So that's why I'm not really concerned about this injury. And I'm not, whether he has to miss time, whatever, it's cool. Let him get 100% healthy. Let him be the luxury that you drafted him to be in the second round. And that luxury is him being 100% Johnny Newton and being that player. So that's why the injury doesn't concern me so much. Yes, I get it. And it's a thing. It's something to monitor. But you don't have to worry about it so much just because you do have that John Allen and that Deron Payne. And you still do have the Fedarian Mathis and the John Ridgeway at the D tackle spot. So you can take your time with Johnny Newton and not have to worry so much with him.
We say all this to say, watch the Johnny Newton film session that just came out yesterday on Trapper Dive YouTube channel. You go ahead and watch that right now as soon as this show is over. Watch that on the same time that you're watching the NBA Finals game or NBA Conference Finals, Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers. We about to tap into that right now. But before y'all get off, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate everybody all in the chat. That was active throughout the show. We see you all right here typing, man. So y'all be safe. Appreciate y'all for watching. Much love. It's all appreciated. Jerzane Newton, JB. I seen it right before we got off. Jerzane Newton.
Is it Jerzane or Jerzan? That's the question. Is it Jerzane or Jerzan?
I have no idea. I actually have
Johnny
no idea.
is fine. Hey, JB, just call him Johnny, baby.
Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. Just call him Johnny. But that's gonna end it for us. AJ, Dre, y'all boys be safe, man. Enjoy y'all evening. Enjoy the game. We up out of here. Peace.
Yes, sir.
Oh, this thing ain't working. There you go, right here. Damn it. The stream needs to end.